whatever Frenchman designed this, I hope the guillotine is still an option because you deserve it. So here we are back with the Renault Megane again, fix some more issues to get it ready to be sold. So the first issue we're going to tackle today is actually to do with these headlights here. Now they're pretty frosted on the fronts. They're kind of like a yellowish tint. We want to make them nice and clear and hopefully give it some better resale value. So in order to get the headlights sorted, what I'm going to first do is use some sandpapers of like different grits. And then I've got this special tool which I'll explain later in the video exactly what this does and how it works, which should hopefully make the headlights crystal clear. So to get started, to make sure when I sand it, I'm not going to scratch any of the paintwork, I've just got some basically masking tape that I'm going to put around the edges, and that should stop me from scratching anything. Okay, I got it taped up, and I also realised if I lift the bonnet, then there should make sure the bonnet doesn't get scratched. What I've got to do now is use sandpaper. I'm going to try and wet sand. So first of all, we're just going to get it cleaned up a little bit. Just literally give it a little bit of scrub with some water. Okay, and let's give you a close-up on what it looks like to start. So this is what it currently looks like, and hopefully we'll have an improvement by the end. So we've got a more aggressive sandpaper to start. I think it's 180 grit, and it will go up to 1,200. So nice fine sandpaper. Hopefully that works. And then I've got that special trick which I talked about, which I'll mention once I've got it sanded. Okay, so it's all nice and sanded now. This feels incredibly soft and smooth now, so hopefully that's a good sign. This mystery liquid is supposed to fix the headlight. Now what you got to do is you've got to heat it up. So you've got this which plugs into the cigarette lighter and essentially lets the fumes come out, and the fumes should fix the issue. Let's see if this works. Right, this stuff is like a bright blue. Pouring in, yeah, roughly about a third. We can then put the lid on. Thankfully, the cable is just about long enough. It should start heating up, in theory. Oh, there you go. It is working. I just have to hold it incredibly closely. See if I can do this one-handed. It is working. Just about. I have to like shake it. Now, you're not going to be able to hear me very well, but I turned the car on. Working so much better. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that result. If I was to do it again, I'd probably use like an orbital sander, because then I'd get a much better sand on it, and then I wouldn't have any of these tiny little scratches left in the headlight. That chemical with the heating part actually worked really, really well. Definitely better than trying to use like a polishing compound. So pretty happy with that. This was definitely the worst of the two headlights, so I'm not going to bother doing the other one just because it's a lot of hassle. I'm just going to stick with the one because I'm happy with the result, and I don't want to try and mess up the other one. So I think this is good place to move on to the next problem with the Megane. So I mentioned this problem actually when I first picked up the car. If I open the boot, I mentioned that this parcel shelf doesn't hold itself up because it's got one clip here, but it's missing one on this side. So what I did, I managed to find some online that hopefully are going to fit. Let's find out. It should literally push in, just like that. Pick this up. If I lift this up now, I should literally just be able to hook. Oh, and you heard it clip. That was a nice sound. And then if we do the other side, which already had one, and look at that. It goes up and down with the boot. I have to say that's probably one of the cheapest fixes that we've done to the car so far. Literally £2 for a pack of two. So very happy with that one. Let's move on to the next problem. Okay, so it's a different day now, as you can tell. And I've been driving the car for about a week, and I've found a few issues that I want to fix with the car. One of those being that the smell inside the car isn't the best. I'm going to try and tackle it by fixing the pollen filter. So what I've done already is I've taken this cover off, which gives us access underneath. Now, if I just get better access into here very quickly, it's really awkward. Up in there is a little silver screw you can probably see. So what I'm going to do is try and take out the rest of that screw, and then I'll show you the pollen filter as it comes out. Okay, so despite my best efforts yesterday, I couldn't get the pollen filter out, because what I needed, hopefully this will fix the problem, is a very small ratchet that can actually fit in the tight space and get it undone. Fingers crossed that works. In there, like right up at the back. So I'm going to have to wiggle my way in. Now, when I say wiggle my way in, I literally mean that. I'm 6'3", upside down in the driver's footwell, trying my best to reach this tiny screw where my hand can barely fit in there with a tiny little ratchet. They did not make this easy. This is not a pleasant camera angle. Yeah, it's not easy getting in here. So I'm going to just cut the camera and come back once I've hopefully got that thing out. So with the ratchet, I just about managed to get that screw out. But even with this, it was really difficult. But sometimes having the right tool makes all the difference. All it was to get this little tiny plastic cover off so I can get to the pollen filter. Whatever Frenchman designed this, I hope the guillotine is still an option, because you deserve it. There's no need to have it so difficult to change a pollen filter. And I reckon because the screws are still in this thing, that it's literally never been changed, like ever, since the car was first built. So I'm going to just quickly grab the pollen filter, and you're going to see how disgusting this thing is, because I haven't looked at it, but it's going to be pretty bad. I can already tell. Come on, you little bugger. That you get. Why is it so stuck in there? Why did they make it like Fort Knox to get a pollen filter? Well, my hands are now black. It's gross. That is going straight in the bin. Funnily enough, it says Renault on it. So, I mean, I reckon this was probably done by the main dealer back in 2010, or maybe 2013 if you're lucky. Which way around was the airflow down? Okay. Feel like I've definitely got some form of airborne disease. How I'm going to make this fit, I don't know. Right, I'm going to do my best to shove this back in, and I'll come back once I've hopefully got it in. Okay, so after a massive struggle, I managed to kind of squish it and just shove it up in there. That is all good. The cap has been put back on, and rather than putting the screws back in, because I don't want anyone else to go through that same pain, I've put just one of the screws in, but did it with my fingers, and you can get a lot easier access to that first screw. So if I need to change it in the future, or if someone else needs to change it in the future, it should be straightforward. Put it on full. So it's probably a little bit loud with it on. Let me just turn it off. So the airflow is decent. It definitely has improved it. But what's really noticeable is that the air coming out, it smells fresh. It smells like the air coming in from outside. Whereas before it used to smell so stuffy and stale. It was gross. So definitely needed upgrading, and will make my life a lot nicer when I'm commuting to work. So glad I did that one. Right, let's move on to the next problem, and it's a bit of a cosmetic one. So the next thing that I want to get sorted on this car, it's a little bit minor, but I want to do it, is give the whole inside a proper clean, especially with that damp that's been here. It doesn't smell the best. So I want to give everything a proper clean. That way I know it's clean when I go to use it. I've literally just got some Auto Glim car shampoo, as well as I've also got this Auto Fresh stuff, which should hopefully make it smell a bit better in here. Okay, that might not seem like much, but I think just giving it a quick wipe down on all the interior and giving it a spray with the Auto Fresh has actually made quite a bit of difference. It's a lot nicer place to be in now that it's had a bit of a clean. Right, let's move on to the next problem. Now, it was actually, I was driving home the other day and some old woman pulled next to me and she wound down the window and she's saying, "Your brake light's not working." So I instantly thought maybe that means all of them aren't working. So what I've just done is test it. If we come back and look, this one on, this one on, this one here needs changing. Little did he know, he's actually pointing at the wrong headlight altogether, and that is just the rear light, not the brake light. And the other issue I had was the bulbs that I originally got didn't work. What I actually needed was 4-watt bulbs. And when I did the online check, it said I needed 5-watt bulbs, which was just wrong, unfortunately, so they didn't quite fit.
Turns out the online checker is correct. I'm just an idiot. There's even a time lapse of me completely changing the rear light, which was a complete waste of time. Let's cut to when I now changed the brake light, which was what needed changing.
I realised after doing it that when I thought I was changing the brake light, I was actually just changing the rear light. What I need to change is the brake light, which is in there. To do that, I've got a 380 bulb, and I don't know if my head's gonna fit in there, but there is a weird looking screw, one there, and there should be one going straight up into the light. I've got to undo those, and then it should just pop out. That's one. These are weird looking screw things, aren't they? But I guess it just helps you reach. Now it has got like a big flathead or a star bit you can use. Oh, I don't know if that black plastic's meant to be on there. Interesting. Right, what I got to do is push it. There we go. We just push it. I think that's it. There we go. All we need to do is remove this clip here. There's 3, 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And then this is the bulb we're changing right here. Just twist it out. That's it. Can only go in one way. 1 clip, 2 clip, 3 clip. This one needs to line up over there. Oh, there we go. And then should be as simple as screwing it back in. I can see that bulb's on, and that one. But the brake lights, I can see that one is on actually. And this one is on. There we go, that's what we wanted. So with the toolkit managing to hold the brake on, I can definitely see that the brake light is now working. So that bulb has fixed the problem. So that is a cheap fix. Another one ticked off the list. Right, let's move on to the cosmetic issue on the exterior of the car. Okay, so the cosmetic issue that I was on about is actually the dent in here. Now, it might be a bit hard to pick up in the light, but it is dented in here ever so slightly. Now, I've got a solution for this. So my attempt at a solution for this is I've got the suction cup mount that I use to sometimes stick the camera to the outside of the car. Now, these are really strong suction cups, so hopefully if I stick a suction cup on, I can pull the dent out. That is the plan anyway. In theory, I should be able to give this a good yank. Oh, kind of pulled it out a little bit, but I'll give this a go. There you go, that is now stuck in a lot better. And this should have pulled it out just a little bit at least. At least this is now back in properly. Tell you what, that is better than it was.
Now, it's not perfect, but it is better, and I'm also hoping to get some of these scratches out by polishing it before I go to sell it.
Okay, so the first kind of cosmetic issue, also a bit of an issue when I'm driving, is the person who last had the car got it cleaned just before I got it, and I think they took it somewhere that literally used wax to and they wiped it all over the windscreen, so I just need to give the windscreen a good clear. The other issue that needs sorting is, I'll just show you on the camera quickly. Behind the dash, behind here, there's this stuff, and it's like stuck on, and it looks gross. So I'm just going to try and use an old plastic card to scrape it off, and then hopefully use some isopropyl alcohol to kind of get rid of all the sticky residue. That's the plan anyway. Okay, got some isopropyl alcohol, going to put that on a rag and see if that fixes the issue. Maybe getting better? I mean, it's really not great, is it? I swear everything on this car is difficult to access. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, that still looks pretty bad, doesn't it? I could definitely keep giving it a go, but I don't know how much better it's going to get. Okay, with a bit more scrubbing, this is as good as I've got it. Yep, you can definitely still see it, but it is better than what it was. So we've made an improvement. If anyone has any ideas on a better way to try and remove that, because the isopropyl alcohol just doesn't seem to be enough, let me know down in the comments. So obviously I've done the pollen filter, I've cleaned the glass and cleaned hopefully some of that gunk that was on the dashboard. It's all part of making it a bit of a nicer interior in here. Now part of that is making it smell nice. So what I've also got is one of these. Now I got it because it's blue and it matches the car, and it also has new car scents, you know, classic. Hopefully this will give it a nicer smell. So what you're meant to do, I know some people don't, you're meant to leave it in the bag so that it lasts longer and just have it sticking out like this. Because I don't like it in the vision, what I tend to do is rather than sticking it up on the rear view mirror, I stick it on the indicator stalk. That's how I tend to do them, just down there, and then they're not in your vision. So hopefully now next time I get in the car to drive it, it won't smell damp, it won't smell like stale air, and it won't smell old. It will smell new car scent. So hopefully that will fix all those issues and make it nicer to drive.
That is going to be it for this video on the Renault Megane. I feel like we have fixed pretty much most of the problems with the car. However, there is still one major problem with the car, and that is to do with it starting. I'm going to cover that in a whole video on its own, and hopefully we can fix that issue so that it's ready to be sold. But that's it. I'll catch you in the next one.